Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Chop Sports Daily right here at the Flipping Made Easy studio right here in snowy Matawan, New Jersey. It is snowing. It was nice coming down here, driving in the parkway. Nobody really actually cares about the snow anymore. It's just, I got the trucks. I don't really care.
I think it was raining all in Matawan, though. It's barely
I saw people posting like
recently,
snowmen and shit. I'm like, where are we? Like, how much? Where is the jet stream? Where's AJ when you need him for the weather report? So Starch and Gooch, and of course, producer Pick Bish Dina in the house for another jam-packed episode of the show. We want to thank you guys for joining us. First and foremost, I'd be remiss to not do the old plug ski, and that would be patreon.com/chop sports. So that obviously goes a long way. We had a brand new contributor last night, our friend Lindsay, who did the toy drive. We had
Joe LaCorey as well.
Joe LaCorey, that's right. He came on board as well. So we're up to 29 people that are literally paying for a subscription service through Chop Sports. So that's awesome for you guys and for us. Awesome of you guys for us. We really appreciate that. It helps us get going, helps us keep moving throughout the course of the day. And of course, if you're watching this video right now, be sure to like it, subscribe to the channel. We're at 590 right now, heading towards 600, heading towards the ultimate goal of 1,000 to start. It's not the ultimate goal. Obviously, we want 1 million subscribers on the channel, but the slow and steady wins the race. Baby steps, baby. We just actually had my Uncle Billy in here. He dropped off about 1.5 pounds of samples of Formica. So we're trying to build this desk out for Chop Sports to make it look visually cool on screen and all that stuff. Who wouldn't pay to see these beautiful men? You're right, Scoop. I mean, look, no disagreements there. However, I disagree with your thought process to come in here on a Friday and record. That really chapped me. I was hoping. I was like, I can't wait to see Scoop and Cousin Vinny today, and he's just like, hey, by the way, you're not coming in. So I'll have to do some editing over the weekend. It's not like I don't have anything going on. It's not like the playoffs are coming up. It's not like
Scoop,
UFC isn't on.
I was talking about this before. We'll talk about this later, but Scoop could edit, I'm sure.
Scoop can edit. We're going to teach you how to edit. Teach me how to edit. Teach you how to edit. And by the way, it's so funny I referenced that. The Dougie. Like me and your sister were the first ones to really get ahead of this Dougie thing back in like 2011 at Big Shot. Shout out to Roxanne.
It had nothing to do with who is it? Who's the guy that actually sings that? Is that
I have no idea. I'm actually for the life of me.
AJ, help me out because I'm drawing a blank, and I know AJ will know.
Who sings the Dougie song? Teach me how to Dougie. I have no freaking idea.
Damn it!
It's got to be one of your. It's like silent assassins. It's a rapper. No shit. But I'm saying, like, it's got to be one of those underground guys. Like you were sitting here with the intern Anthony yesterday, and you're like, oh yeah, this is a rap group. And I'm like, I didn't even know, like, since Wu-Tang, I didn't know those things still existed. But you're on the underground. What do you got, Dina? You got the answer?
Cali Swag District.
Cali Swag District. Teach me how to Dougie. So shout out to those guys in the new theme song of Chop Sports.
2004.
Jesus Christ. 2004 it came out? So maybe it was before.
A while ago.
Wow. Okay. In any event, welcome to the show, everybody. There's a lot to go on. Last night, by the way, I was over at Woodbridge High School. Woodbridge gets another dub in the wrestling world of high school wrestling. They starched the New Brunswick Zebras, by the way. Did not know. I was yesterday's year old when I found out that the New Brunswick team was the Zebras.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, because I always refer to them as New Brunswick. I never actually put like I've coached against them. I've coached, in games against them where I just never paid any mind to their mascot.
A naturally aggressive animal.
And they picked out a zebra. So like, do the refs like them extra? Because it's like, hey, zebra, not a bad idea.
It's one way of looking at it.
Yeah, of course. And then KJ came in pretty sure the Cali Swag District, pretty sure that dude is dead. Well, hopefully he's not, and RIP if he is. But in any event, we got a lot to go over today. I do want to give a special shout out to my boy Anthony Bowens and Max Caster, both stars of AEW wrestling last night. You'll understand and appreciate this, Gooch, because you do know some old school wrestling. Bro, they were in the main event on TBS on a national stage against Sting. Like the Sting, like Crow.
So the fact that Sting is still doing it, I feel like that's almost sad in itself.
It is a little bit. He is an icon. They call him the icon Sting, but like he's been around forever. It's still cool because you still the nostalgia, the paint, But yeah, I mean, he's not.
I would imagine that.
But he jumped off something last night.
A little bit.
He jumped off something last night through a table. So figure that one out.
Still doing okay.
Still doing it. Still rocking. So shout out to my boys, the AEW stars over there. Remember Bobby Wayward? Yeah, they were the Untouchables. They debuted. You know who they debuted against? You know who they beat the shit out of in the middle of the ring? That was me. So when a group debuted in Pro Wrestling Syndicate, they debuted by beating my ass. Bowens, Fabry, Payne, all those guys. It was like 4-on-1. It wasn't fun. In fact, my dad is caught on camera on that with my buddy Greg, who's a 49er fan. We'll get into the 49ers in a little bit, but he was in the crowd and they were watching me get beat up. And I saw my dad like motion to Greg saying like, get in there and help him. You know, like obviously I'm just getting stomped out. And then my boy, who that is also the beginning of Adamus Davidus, the Big O, made the save, and we became the Powers of Destruction, the tag team that never was, because we had like one tag team. He broke his ankle, then I broke my ACL or tore my ACL, and the rest was history. But anyway, that's enough wrestling talk for today. You can tune into the Combat Sports Podcast, which one day when this actually goes up. I was talking to Tommy D last night, as a matter of fact. He goes, I go to him, I said, your article will more than likely be up tomorrow or Friday going into UFC, which is good. It's a good timing thing. He goes, yeah, we wanted to do an episode going into 270, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen as far as scheduling goes. I said, well, you know what? Let's rebound and regroup, and let's get a recap 270 episode, right? He goes, well, maybe I could write an article. Do you think your editor can get it up fast enough? I said, bro, it's taken him a week to get your article done because you can't spell. And he goes, that's what editors are for. And I'm like, you're an ass.
But then the answer is no. It can't be up fast enough.
No, it cannot be up fast enough. It's not going to be up Monday, Tommy. So I appreciate you trying. In any event, let's get into it. Last night, actually on our way in, we got a tidbit from AJ Schefter of Chop Sports correspondent over at the Sauce Network, texted us something that was relatively big, probably happened towards the end of the night, considering the LA Lakers are on the West Coast. And big news, because this is relatively alarming if you're a Lakers fan or a fan of the player itself. But last night, Russell Westbrook was benched by Vogel, the head coach of the Lakers. Benched, not like he's injured. He might, I don't know. He came up kind of limp. He was benched, ladies and gentlemen. Here are some of the tweets that came up last night. So last night, it was from Melissa Roblin. LeBron James, after fielding questions about Frank Vogel's job security, he goes, if you got something to ask me besides trying to shit on somebody, I'll answer those. So clearly he's trying to defend his coach. Obviously, Russell Westbrook, according to another Twitter account, Russell Westbrook is shooting 32% and 25% from three in 2022.
And that's StatMuse.
I can't see. I'm like literally blind. I got to go to
I like that website. I like that account. They have a lot of interesting stuff. So if you want to know anything about, let's say, individual matchups against each other, you type in like Matt LaFleur against Kyle Shanahan, and it'll just automatically
be a plethora of knowledge.
Very good website.
So it's a big topic, and the reason why is because of all the hype that was brought around when the deal was made. Even I made a big deal of it. I said, "Oh my God, you know what? The Lakers just keep getting these stars, and it's just not fair, and it's a super team." But there was a lot of people like a Scoop. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he makes it like his business on Cross Court Cast to say how much he hates Russell Westbrook and how much he doesn't think he's a good basketball player.
I'm that one guy. Like, I'm a huge Russell Westbrook fan because I like the energy he brings, and I think on a team like the Wizards, you see what Russell Westbrook is capable of doing.
All right, so I just want to bring up I know we brought up these stats, but I'm going to bring up this stat. This is Russell Westbrook's last 5 games, right, for the Lakers. Last night, 5 for 17. The game before that, 5 for 15 from the floor. The game before that, 7 for 15. The game before that, 2 for 14, and the game before that, 2 for 12. 5-game cumulative. He took 73 shots. He made 28% of them. That is not an all-star. That is somebody that Vogel made the right move. Get off the court. I don't care how much money you make, which, by the way, $47 million due to him next year out of a part of a $206 million contract for 5 years. He's a free agent in 23, but at this point, he's on the downward turn. He needs to cash in right now because he's not going to get paid this kind of money.
In terms of athletic ability and skill set, he's not really on the downward turn, but he's never going to be the right piece for a team like the Lakers, specifically the right piece for a guy like LeBron James. LeBron James needs shooters. This guy is not a shooter. He needs the ball in his hands to be successful. And even then, he needs to shoot 30 times to be successful, where you see he's shooting 28%. Now, it's an interesting timeline for me when we're looking at this whole thing play out. A couple days back, you got or at least I did, a notification saying that Frank Vogel's job is in fact on the line, which I think everybody was expecting that. But when you have a guy like Frank Vogel, who's had success in the NBA, and he's kind of under pressure to start the guys or to play the guys that they're paying, and they bring in the big offseason addition in a Russell Westbrook, and you start to see the Lakers aren't really performing with Russ in the lineup, specifically in the fourth quarter. So what I think happened was, I think Frank probably went to the front office and was like, hey, I understand that my job is on the line, but I feel a little bit of pressure from you guys to be playing this lineup because obviously Russell Westbrook is being paid $45 million this year. Now I saw a tweet right after AJ sent us that text saying that the Lakers front office came out and said that they gave permission to Frank Vogel to bench Russell Westbrook, as if a head coach needed permission.
Now, not in real time. Not like, hey, they call from the back phone during the game.
They just said, look, so that led me to believe that there was clearly some type of meeting about job security and the lineup that was being put forth. And Vogel was like, look, if my job is on the line, you got to let me do this my way. And my way is going to include Russell Westbrook on the bench in the fourth quarter. Obviously, at this point in the season, the way the Lakers have been playing, you have no choice but to just try something different.
Absolutely.
I don't think Russell Westbrook is a really tradable player at this point.
Not with that contract.
Not with that. Well, look, the Lakers could trade Russ. Like, there's a suitor out there. There's a guy. So
there's a team out there that will willing to take on $47 million of contract next year?
Of course. Well, this is the NBA. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I know the NBA and the NFL are completely different.
Because when we're talking
monsters.
about if you're talking about a team like Washington, you have to understand these guys just want to sell tickets. But
didn't they just trade him?
But you have to understand what I'm getting at. Yes, they just did trade him. But I'm speaking relatively about a team like a Washington, who, even though Washington's actually in the mix in the postseason, but let's say a team that's not, or a team that's dying for a star. Russell Westbrook has a fan base. He is an exciting player to go watch play basketball. Like, you see Russ dunk on was it Gobert the other night? It was the highlight of the entire week in the NBA, where he caught a technical. Yeah. Right. So Russell Westbrook, there's some star power there. There's some box office value, if you want to call it that, where fans want to go see Russ play. Just like I said, you need shooters on the Lakers, and you need guys that are going to defend the perimeter and hit threes. And Russell Westbrook, while he does play that good defense, it's more like a Trayvon Diggs style defense. Don't get mad at me.
What does that mean? What are you trying to say,
you
bro?
Risk it a little bit too much. But
so he's going for the telegraph pass, and when he misses it, he's wide open and he can shoot the ball. The only thing I can say is this: Vogel, if my job, I would just put myself in the coach's shoes here. If my job is on the line and there's rumors swirling and NBA and Woj is just chomping at the bit to just throw that bomb that Vogel's been fired, I'm going to the front office, and it's not a discussion. It's literally me saying, look, if I lose more games, I'm out, right? So I don't want to lose more games. Well, yeah. And if Westbrook is in the lineup, we're more than likely going to lose games because he's not playing well. And I looked at the last 5, and that was a small sample size. Clearly, the guy is not all world anymore. You can't, there's headlines going out there like 5-time All-Star, blah, blah, blah. Like, we get it. He was good.
Look, stop. I mean, you can't take away what he's done.
I'm never going to take away his accolades.
He's clearly a superstar NBA player, but he's just not a championship piece. There's been plenty of guys throughout the course of the NBA history that Dominique Wilkins just comes to mind as a very similar type of player where he was an offensive beast, dunked really hard, and he brought crazy energy, but he could never win the big game.
Now, this is probably not accurate, and I'm not trying to pretend that I know more NBA than I know, but Westbrook, that was a Thunder team. It was him, Durant, and Harden, right? They were all together?
Yeah, but James Harden was really not a starter on that team just yet.
But I'm
coming into his own.
Now, KD goes away, wins a title. Harden goes away. He hasn't won a title yet. But he's in line to kind of, if the Nets put it all together. So everybody who's left Westbrook has been more successful, is what I'm saying. You added Westbrook as a Laker.
I wouldn't say that James Harden has been successful. What is he done? No. I mean, and not more successful than Russell Westbrook. Then why are they considering
him part of the big three if he's not a success?
I mean,
clearly, he's a good ball player.
So my point being is the same knocks that you have on Westbrook, you could make the same knocks about James Harden. He doesn't play defense in the playoffs. He looks very disinterested when he's out there at times. They have no titles. If the ultimate measuring stick here is how many titles have you won, then the only one that's had success outside of OKC has been KD.
Correct.
And that's plain and simple to me.
All I know is I am pro coach on this one of the benching of a Diva All-Star. And I say Diva All-Star because, look, they're all like this. I mean, it's not like now I flip it on its ear. What if LeBron put up those numbers, right? And it was just total shit for the last 2 weeks. Would Vogel be inclined to say, look, this guy's 40 years old. We gotta do something else here. Like, would you be inclined to bench LeBron James?
No, I think that's sacrilege at this point. LeBron James wasn't
just because of name value,
James
like
not name value, just propensity to prove it, or a history of proving it in the postseason, and history that LeBron James isn't the guy that Russell Westbrook is. You're not going to bench LeBron James unless there's an injury going on. It's just not going to happen. People are going to the games to see LeBron way more than they're going to see anybody. So you're not going to take LeBron James out of the game. And LeBron James isn't the reason. He might be the reason, part of it, but they're a better team with LeBron. I don't know that you can make that case with a Westbrook. Still, even when we're talking about shooting percentages, because Russ does a lot of things well without the ball in his hands, but he's just not doing it well this year with the Lakers. And I shouldn't even say that. He really doesn't do much well without the ball in his hands. He needs to have the ball for him to be successful, and so does LeBron. So it's just not a good mix. Both of them
on the court. They thought it was to get him.
Well, I don't know. I think Frank Vogel is on the same page as most fans were, and most NBA experts were going into this whole thing, was that it just wasn't going to work. Scoop talking about it. He's our NBA guy, right? He's in agreement, where I remember Rube saying it's just not going to work. A lot of guys that I trust what they say about the NBA were on the whole Russell Westbrook to the Lakers thing. It's nice at surface level, but it's not going to actually pan out.
And I was the one that was like bitching and moaning about a super team. And in reality, look at the Lakers now. Like they're reeling right now, and they're just barely hanging on by a string. But due to the fact that they do have a King LeBron James, they're still relative, and they're still kind of in it. So let's dive into the comments real quick, because I know there's a lot of people talking.
We got one here from Brandon Taylor, if you could pull that one up, where it's saying, I wouldn't say that Harden has had success or hasn't had success. I'm not sure. Yeah, so he's saying that Harden has had success. He's just never won a ring. I mean, Russell Westbrook has an MVP. So you could make the argument.
Does he?
I'm pretty sure he won the MVP the year he led the NBA in triple doubles, and had 57 or whatever the fuck.
How the mighty fall. Like, holy shit. What does he do well?
Yeah, no. He was gonna ask. He's pretty much. I corrected myself immediately. I was like, he does things without the ball, and I was like, well, he actually doesn't. So I corrected myself.
Tony Catalina, my paisan from Blogging the Boys, are coming in. Harden, 6th man of the year that year, when I guess when he was with KD.
Yeah.
So their success started with Westbrook, but I feel like they branched off and they just did better. I mean, again, that's a very bold.
I think the year that OKC had their deep run with Russ and KD, I think Harden was off that team already, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was the year he got traded.
Westbrook may have 2 MVPs. He's averaged a triple-double in 3 consecutive seasons.
Yeah, so
he's not.
So when we're talking about success, Russ has had success too. Let's be honest. I mean, he dominated fantasy basketball last year. So if you had Russ on your team, you won the fucking league.
I've never played fantasy basketball, and I'll probably stay out of that realm. But it's probably good for like for instance, this year I want to do fantasy baseball because it'll get me more well-rounded around.
I have a fantasy baseball league that I'm in the process of filling out. Of course you can. I just give you a fair warning that it's a little much. Fantasy baseball is not
much as in lucrative, or much as in like the players that are in it will start you. Like,
well, both.
Okay.
It's not lucrative. It's not super expensive. It's just you have to be on it every day.
It's not Rotary. What are they called?
No. None of that Roto League shit.
Roto League.
I'll explain. It's very
please, off air. We got to talk because I definitely want to, because it definitely helps you in the world of finding
fantasy baseball model is very unique, and it's all my own. I've done this over the course of a 20-year stretch where I've manipulated the scoring to fit what I think is the best.
Yeah, I can't see all the comments. I don't know why. But anyway, it is what it is. But yeah, Russell Westbrook, obviously that story broke today. Well, technically broke last night, but we're here to talk about it today because it was relatively big. But we're talking about Russell Westbrook. Now, for a second, I just want to ask you one quick question. Do you think the Lakers can move on from him and trade him? Like, and get rid of that contract for, if they don't, that's fine, but they're stuck with him for another year at a massive number, $47 million. Can they move him?
I don't think that I don't think that they might. I don't think that they're even going to try to move him this season.
Okay.
Because I think that the optics of that and just the way that'll implode, they're looking at the stretch run for the Lakers. They're looking to add pieces. I don't know that getting rid of a Russ right now is going to be the best move for the team that's in the position they're in. They need to get cohesive. They need to get these guys on the court together as much as possible, because if they try to trade Russ, and the media will just destroy that squad.
Yeah.
The locker room will be a mess. Not that it already isn't a mess. I'm pretty sure it might be at this point with Russ getting benched. But yeah, I just can't see it happening this year. But in the offseason, yes, 100%. I could easily see Russell Westbrook getting moved.
Now, there's that one more question before we move on to better things, or to at least more positive things. What does this do for the locker room? Like you just said, it might be a mess, but now with the benching of Russell Westbrook, does a guy like LeBron step up and say, "What the frick do you think you're doing?" Or like as the leader of this team, or does this make the Lakers even worse? I mean, look. Just because he's benched, right, doesn't mean he's never going to get back on the court. He's going to play basketball,
he's going to be
right?
playing. And
so
I would imagine you're going to see him in the fourth quarter a lot in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to just sit here and take one of the better players in the world off their roster in crunch time. But Kyle's making a great point. They don't have Anthony Davis. I don't know when they're going to get him back fully healthy, if ever, at this point.
Is he turning into like a big tree fall hard type guy? Like
he's not turning into. He's been that his entire career. Really, if you look at
he's always
if you look
hurt.
at the Anthony Davis career, he's very, very unsuccessful in the postseason in his career, outside of one season where he really did do a lot, but that was the bubble year. I don't know. I think that Anthony Davis, the verdict's still out on how great of a player he will go down as. But right now, his biggest thing surrounding him is injuries. If you think of Anthony Davis, the first thing that pops into my mind is he's hurt, or when's he going to get hurt? Or is he hurt yet? Or all those things. It's not how great he is. It's how great he could be if he wasn't always hurt.
Crazy. All right. Well, moving on, because we're talking about people on the move. NFL.com released an article yesterday, or this morning, of guys that could potentially be on the move. Before we dive headfirst into the NFC Championship round, I do want to talk about quarterbacks that might not be playing for their current team anymore. The list is pretty deep. We highlighted a couple here on the screen. Obviously, we start with Derek Carr. Now that Mayock has been fired, and now Pistachio, we don't know if he's going to be the guy going forward because the GM can kind of do whatever he wants. Is this the recipe for a complete overhaul in Las Vegas, not including Derek Carr?
I don't think that Derek Carr should get moved by anybody. I think Derek Carr is a solid quarterback. If you come into the Raiders right now and you're looking to replace Derek Carr, you might be looking for the replacement for the next 5 years. There's no guarantees. I'm not positive that the Raiders, the team that they have, are in a position to rebuild with a young quarterback. So if you're really being serious about this, it's look at the guys on the screen. And if you're going to replace Derek Carr, it better be with at least one of those two guys, because you're not going to do any better than that.
Kirk Cousins is a lateral move, if not worse.
Derek Carr, I would say he's earned the respect of at least the public this season. I'm sure his teammates have respected him for quite a while
the whole
now.
time.
The only thing that I think was holding Derek Carr back in the last couple of seasons was John Gruden's abrasiveness and the way he's gone about running that team. I think Derek Carr, once you saw him get the kid gloves taken off and treated like this is his offense by Bisaccia, basically let Derek Carr run the show. I think Derek Carr proved his worth this year, and the Raiders would be really foolish to move on from him at this point.
I am on the same page as you.
Careful what you wish for.
Right, exactly. If you move on and you're stuck with Marcus Mariota as your only quarterback on the roster because nobody else wants to go there, or you couldn't acquire anybody or draft anybody, you might be in for a world of hurting. And I'm not discrediting Marcus Mariota. I just don't think he's more of a well-rounded quarterback as Derek Carr.
And if you are looking to bring in a guy that's young, there's really no reason to move on from Carr just yet. You would have a very similar situation than what they're doing across the bay, or not even the bay anymore because it's not Oakland, with San Francisco, where they have Trey Lance, but they still have Jimmy G there because Trey Lance might not be ready just yet. I would imagine that whatever quarterback prospect the Raiders were going to pick up on this year isn't going to be as highly touted as Trey Lance was, because they're not picking that high, A, and B, there's no quarterback that's even slotted to go third. So
now you'd be surprised. I'm sitting there, I'm looking at Mel Kiper's.
We always talk about that.
Like,
there's no quarterbacks yet, but typically what happens in the NFL draft analysis, or that whole process, is that quarterbacks start to creep up because that's the
riddle me
premier
this,
position.
Batman. Like, what? I saw a guy yesterday on the mock draft from the college Liberty in the top 15. Like, so I guess you don't have to necessarily go to Ohio State or a big school. Liberty, like, is their quarterback is apparently.
Where did Josh Allen go to school?
Tell me Liberty.
No.
Oh,
but I mean, like, not to tout Carson Wentz, but Carson Wentz went to a small school. There's a lot of guys that went to smaller schools that make it. It's just it's less likely, but
yeah,
of course, if you see a talent like that, then just pick up on them.
Wyoming, by the way. There you go.
He knows that.
Good. Yeah, of course he knows that. So I do want to move to Russell Wilson. This is more of a topic of conversation because his agent has already went out and saying, yes, we're open to exploring options. Meaning, I mean, I don't know what that means, considering the fact that he's under contract with Seattle. So that doesn't mean like, hey, release me. He could demand a trade, I guess, right? But the only team, there's actually two teams that I think are in line to acquire Russell Wilson's services because they have capital, meaning draft capital. And that's the New York Football Giants. And despite what Howie Roseman and all those guys in Philadelphia said about Jalen Hurts, they have 3 first-round picks, ladies and gentlemen.
I could give you 2 more teams that are definitely
in the mix,
potential landing spots for a guy like Russ. One being Denver, because they've been acquiring the capital to hopefully make the Aaron Rodgers move since last draft. So there's one team, and definitely a team that has a real need at quarterback, where if you put Russell Wilson on the Broncos, that's a completely different franchise.
They've been looking for a quarterback for 5 years.
And then the Dolphins, because if you're any team that's been in connection with the Deshaun Watson or the Aaron Rodgers news or even Russ for that matter, over the last offseason plus this season, then those teams are obviously going to be in the mix for any quarterback. The Bears are another good one.
So, but wait.
I'm not sure the Bears really have what it takes to make the move,
know,
though. They traded all their draft capital to get Justin Fields. So I think Justin Fields is the guy.
And Khalil Mack.
Well, yeah, but more recently, Justin Fields, where they moved up, they traded. I'm pretty sure the Bears don't have a first this year because of the Justin Fields move. So, yeah, they're a hard no.
What about New Orleans? Plus coming in saying Russ goes to the Saints. This team is actually ready for a championship run right now.
Yeah, the Saints. I think the Broncos will be ready to make some noise in the AFC,
especially
with Russ
that running game. Yeah,
but which Russ are we going to get? Are we going to get the
Mr. Unlimited
2020 and earlier Russ? Or are we going to get this year?
I think the team that's going to kind of really piss everybody off, especially if you're a fan of any team in the NFC East, are the Philadelphia Eagles. I know. Listen, I wrote down Jalen Hurts as a guy. I know he's not on our graphic, but as a guy that NFL.com has as one of the guys that could potentially been on the move. This is after they said he's our guy. Now, here, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Here's a little newsflash for you. They said Carson Wentz was their guy. They drafted Jalen Hurts. Okay? So before you get all crazy and say like, well, you know, Howie came out and said it. They've done this before. They've been down this road before. This ain't their first rodeo. You know what I mean? Like, this is, to me, I don't think this is a concrete thing for Philadelphia to not try to make a play for Russ, if available.
I think
with all those first round picks, they got 3 first round picks.
When you have a guy like Russ involved, then there's all options around the table, and I wouldn't say that Philly wouldn't kick the tires on it, but what are you going to get for Jalen Hurts? I would imagine you're going to actually trade up in terms of what the draft pick you used on him. So would they get him for a third or second rounder? Do you think Jalen Hurts is worth more than what Sam Darnold was? I do. You know, he just took Philly to the playoffs. They were probably projected to win 5-6 games by most. You know, I would say that Jalen Hurts had a successful season this year. I know that there was,
so then his value was very high.
That's my point. So his value is high. So I guess you could consider that they would trade Jalen Hurts. I think that teams would be lining up for Jalen Hurts services or the chance to fix what might be broken or to help develop a guy like that. I think Jalen Hurts has a potential promising career, and I don't really put him in the mix as somebody that's really, or the Eagles as somebody that's really on the market for a quarterback, unless something presents itself to them. But I can't imagine them really going aggressive after anybody.
Toast makes a very good point, and it's not like a joke or tongue in cheek. When you're talking about Russ, you have to talk about his wife too. She's a superstar. Sierra has been in the world for however long she's been around in the spotlight. Places like New York do jump off the map when it comes to places to be, right? You'd probably want to go to New York.
I think Russ would love coming to New York. I just don't think that it's going to happen.
Now, another question. If that were to happen and the Giants move, you know, everything just to get Russ, do you think that Daniel Jones has the skill set to start anywhere else? Or do you think he's like, this was the starting quarterback that was drafted by the Giants and we're all realizing that he's not that good, right? And now, like, where else would he go? Like, do you think Daniel Jones is a starter in the NFL if he's not on the Giants?
The current version of him, absolutely not.
Right. So he's got work to do.
Yeah, he's got some work to do. But like we said about a lot of other guys, you know, you just need a better opportunity. They haven't had an offensive line. They haven't had the weapons. They have Saquon Barkley's been largely out of the rotation. You know, he's been hurt for most of his career. The receivers that they've brought in, I feel like the Giants have actually done a decent job with getting weapons out there, but if you can't protect the quarterback, it has zero bearing. If you're not throwing the ball at all when you're down 2 scores, having the receivers doesn't really matter. Let's see, because I know that the Giants had the second interview with the guy. Was he a Buffalo guy?
Well, shout out to Scoop, who actually sent me a screenshot of what the Giants, according to the Transaction Wire on ESPN.com, according to that, they already hired him on January 7th. So what's happening? Are they really trying to be first with this shit?
And also, do you really think that the first order of business for a new GM that wants to come in and build when you have the draft capital, like if I'm a GM, I would prefer to build through the draft the right way, knowing like, okay, I'm not about to handcuff myself in the next 3 years by getting Russ, who's on the wrong side of 30, coming off of, while it's definitely a recoverable injury, but coming off of an injury where it definitely affected his play. I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket and have all my I guess, draft acumen and my draft capital taken. Like, you can't build through the draft if you don't have a draft.
To your point, Ibby's coming in basically saying that Russ is going to go to a win now team, not a rebuilding team, because you can't rebuild around a 33-year-old quarterback. You just can't. I don't think you can. I mean, look, Russ is still Russ.
You saw a situation with Matthew Stafford going to LA. That's a situation where you could see
that's Russ, a win now franchise, right?
Win now franchise. But Russell Wilson's going to definitely demand a lot more than Stafford did in a trade, I think. I don't think it's even.
I heard yesterday that it'll be multiple ones.
Multiple ones. Yeah. Well, Stafford was 2 ones,
which is ridiculous. But I mean, at the time, it was ridiculous because it's like, wow, what the hell, Matt Stafford? And we'll talk about Matt Stafford in a couple minutes. But you're like, oh my God, it's so funny. Stafford went to a win now team as Goff went to a rebuilding team, and Goff is obviously the younger quarterback. So the Lions set themselves back by getting rid of their guy. Yes, but maybe there's something to Goff. I don't know. Right now, he kind of stinks, but it is what it is. So, and before we get off this, I did want to mention Kirk Cousins because he was on the graphic. The only way Kirk Cousins gets moved is if he's traded, because he's got a $35 million guaranteed slot next year to play for the Vikings. So if the Vikings want to move on from Kirk Cousins, that's great, and I think they should. But you're finding an NFL team in a league where it's a hard cap, and you have to take on $35 million.
I think out of all the guys that we listed, Kirk Cousins is the one that's most likely to get moved. I know that the contract sucks, but I don't think that Pittsburgh is really looking to have Kirk Cousins be the guy forever. But I could easily see Kirk Cousins going to Pittsburgh, because knowing that the situation that the Vikings would be in, it's not like you're going to get much. And I think everybody knows that. So you would basically just be taking on the contract and be giving up maybe a 5th or 6th round pick, because if the Vikings do move off of Kirk Cousins, and they announced to the NFL, look, we don't want to deal with Kirk Cousins anymore, all their leverage is gone. They're basically saying, just take this contract and you could have him for this season. If you want to work out something for the future, go right ahead. But I think even if Pittsburgh drafts a quarterback, which Tomlin said,
Kenny Pickett,
you would imagine that he's not going to be ready right away. And Pittsburgh, they're not in a position typically. They haven't been in my lifetime, really, where they've been in a rebuild mode. And I don't think Tomlin has any interest in going into rebuild mode at this point. So they're looking to
if you don't have Big Ben, it's rebuild mode.
But that's my point. Unless you could bring in a veteran quarterback, which Tomlin did say. He addressed this. He said, look, I'm excited about the idea of going after and trying to find a new quarterback. I really don't want to rebuild. So I would prefer to have a veteran. That's what Tomlin said.
What about your boy? No truth to that.
Come on, bro.
Nothing.
Let's not do this right now. We all know that we're gonna get force fed this narrative all off season. We have a game to play in 2 days. Let's not do this right now. We're not gonna. And honestly, I might not even do it all year.
You're not gonna. You can't no-sell this shit. That was our content last year.
Yeah, it was our
Rodgers
content last year, and I no-sold the shit out of it. And look, here we are, 2 weeks away from playing in another NFC championship.
Yeah, you might want to pause on that one, baby.
But it is true. Another Super Bowl. We did play in one.
So. Yeah, against Tomlin, nonetheless. This magic moment. I'm telling you, Rodgers and Tomlin are gonna find each other in a field, and they're just gonna hug. It's gonna be great. I can't wait. But why don't we talk about?
Better hope so. That's your only shot.
Why don't we talk about the games that are coming up this weekend? And of course, if you saw the thumbnail today, it was legitimate. It was true. I was not thrilled to talk NFC playoffs because the Cowboys should be here, but they're not, because they're frauds. And I'm just a bitter man. And I'm just there's words that I can use, and then we'd be kicked off of YouTube, and I don't want to do that. But there's been a lot of news yesterday with Mike McCarthy and all that stuff, but you can get into that and find that on my Twitter. We'll talk about that. But speaking of Mike McCarthy, he left behind a championship caliber team, because the Green Bay Packers are set to take on the team that just beat up on the Cowboys. I say beat up because they technically beat them up. I don't care how much the last play, I can't believe it. Like the whole game was ruined. The 49ers. Now there's multiple things we could talk about here, because obviously Aaron Rodgers, and we've went over this, has been playing unconscious at home. It's almost as if he can just throw a ball like this and just say, all right, somebody's out there. Devontae, go get it. Like, he doesn't even need to look at this point. You know, like, that's how good Aaron Rodgers has been. And he's going against a secondary in which the Dallas Cowboys, when they were coming in, that was the bugaboo of the 49ers. They said, why don't we just pass on these guys? Because their secondary sucks, right? All of a sudden, now you have the greatest passer maybe to ever do it. Does that kind of bodes well for your Green Bay Packers, Gooch?
Yeah, obviously, I feel very confident going into this matchup. I'm not going to bring up the Aaron Rodgers.
Can I come over and watch the game with you?
I don't know exactly where I'm going to be. Honestly.
Can I go anywhere that you're going to be?
I have a lot of people that are trying to, say, where are you going to watch the game? Some of them are 49er fans. Some of them are Packer fans that I've been making plans with all season and just haven't yet. And now because it's the playoffs, it's time. We got to get together. And
props to you that have the ability to do that, because I have to be in my family.
It is what it is. As long as I'm with good people, I really don't mind. But the weather in Green Bay.
He didn't answer my question. He didn't say I can go anywhere he is.
You could come wherever I go. Okay. Absolutely.
Aww.
Except for, I almost said something very, very pause. So look, it's gonna be 20 degrees high in Green Bay.
What is
Saturday.
it right now, Gooch?
It's 0.
One
degree
in Green Bay right now.
In Green Bay right now. You asked me the weather here, and I have no clue, but I will tell you the weather in Green Bay.
It's snowing outside.
So yeah, it's going to be 10 degrees come kickoff because this game is at 8:00, or 8:30 or whatever it is. So
advantage Green Bay, clearly.
You would say that advantage Green Bay, but the style that the 49ers bring to the table, and I've talked about this in the past, where the Packers in this one, I think, are going to want to be throwing the ball a little bit. I know that they're definitely going to be committed to the run, and it'll be a little 50-50. But when you have Aaron Rodgers and you have Devontae Adams and you have Randall Cobb coming back, you have Marquez Valdes-Scantling coming back. Obviously, you have Lazard that's
Wait, Cobb's back?
Cobb is back, yes.
Third and Cobb is in the house?
Cobb is back.
Man, I'm excited.
You're going to want to be able to throw the football, but with the weather being what it is, this kind of lends to the style of the 49ers, and the home field advantage does help because we get the crowd. But in terms of what the 49ers want to do, smash mouth football, get after the quarterback, and run the football, this is tailor-made for their style of football. That said, Dina, you could pull up the graphic right now. The Packers are undefeated at Lambeau this year, right? They are.
We've seen that before.
They are, I believe, they are 24-3 in Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur's career combined at Lambeau Field, which is pretty impressive. Now, 2 of those losses did come in the postseason, unfortunately. One of them being the Kyle Shanahan coach, Jimmy G led 49er team.
Mm-hmm.
And I did say the other day that we are starting our revenge tour, and I firmly believe that we will beat the 49ers, then beat the Bucks, and then beat whoever else in the Super Bowl.
Ooh, ready for this? Kyle, this is a bomb. Green Bay, 7-6 in their last 13 playoff home games. Lambeau advantage? I think not.
Well, if you said 6-7, then I would say no. But if it's 7-6, then yes, it is.
So because they're over 500 at home,
Is it? Are we
I'm
sitting here?
You.
He's honestly splitting hairs just to give me a graphic. And if that's the best one you could come up with, that's fine. All those teams were, half of them, if not half of them, most of them were coached by guess who? Your boy Mike McCarthy. So I have my scapegoat.
You mean coach of the year, Mike McCarthy?
I have my scapegoat on the whole 7-6 at home in the last 13 playoff games, because 9 out of the 10 on this days came in the last 3 weeks, where it was the Packers getting eliminated from the playoffs because they didn't call timeout, or Mike McCarthy challenged a play when we had none. Things like that.
Oh, I saw that. And Jordy picked up the flag.
Yeah,
I saw that yesterday.
So Mike McCarthy's been inept for quite a while. Now we have the coach. Obviously, we're 0-2 in the NFC championships last year.
But this isn't the NFC championship yet.
And you know what else? This is not those teams. And the 49ers team that beat us that year, that's not this 49er team. It's a very, very far cry from it. The defense is not as good. You could pull up the next graphic. As we talk about the 49ers, Bosa and Warner did both practice. And I obviously look, this is their only chance, because if the 49ers didn't have Bosa and Warner, the game would already be over. There would be really no need to
cleared concussion protocol in 3 days. Get the this is what I'm talking about. I told you guys about COVID. No more testing. Nobody was ever going to pop for COVID anymore. And now the star player on the 49ers defensive line leaves the game, ruled out with a concussion, has surpassed all the protocols in 3 days. That's not even that. CeeDee Lamb was ruled out for Thanksgiving because of that.
But it is a good thing, though.
It is a good thing for the Niners, sure.
It is a good thing for the Niners, and it was even better. I think this is a good thing for the Packers, is that the Niners have had Trey Lance running around as Aaron Rodgers in practice, and I can't imagine that he's doing a real good job of mimicking Aaron Rodgers in practice.
I think it was just for the scramble ability.
Of course it is.
Not his accurate passing.
Of course it is. But the Packers' turnover ratio is one of the best in the history of the league.
It's the second. You know who's first?
Who?
Dallas.
Are they though?
Yes.
In turnovers or turnover ratio?
Turnover margin. Plus 14
I
Dallas.
want to check that.
I just looked at it. Why would you? I'm not just going to spit something if I didn't
Because
just
we
see
had
it.
this conversation recently where I said the Packers are really high in the turnover, and you were like, not as high. And I said,
And then
well,
there
check
could
the
have been
ratios.
2 more weeks where we picked off Jalen Hurts or Gardner Minshew and turned him over, right? So it could.
And maybe,
it could be a
because
thing.
Jordan Love played week 17 in the second half, and we had 3 turnovers. We haven't had an offensive turnover since week 8
Can't
with
win.
our starters. So look, honestly, if the Packers protect the football and they get Devontae going, they get A.J. Dillon going. I know nobody even talks about Aaron Jones anymore. He's like an afterthought, but he's still a great running back. I just don't see how. I'm not going to pick the game yet because we're doing that tomorrow. But
Tomorrow with
everybody
our
knows how I
lean
feel
Fridays.
about this. Obviously, everybody knows how I feel about this. We're not to mention Jair Alexander's probably going to play. Bakhtiari's playing.
Bakhtiari's going to have his hands full.
You know who else is probably playing? Whitney Merciless. So the Packers are literally getting everybody back at the perfect time. This is not the same team that it's been even all year.
Now, I'll flip it just because I'm going to play advocate and I'm going to play like go 49ers for a minute, right? You think the 49ers are playing with house money right now? Loose? They're not supposed to be here. Dallas is supposed to beat them, right? If you talk about standings wise, Dallas, if all went to chalk, the 1 through 4 seeds will be available still this week. Dallas lost.
Yes,
they
yes.
upset
Are they
Dallas
playing
in
with
Dallas.
house money? I don't believe in any of that. When you're talking about it's game time, you could play loose all you want. Go out there and execute. You're gonna have to stop Aaron Rodgers. Is Aaron Rodgers playing with house money? Probably not. But is he still better than everybody else on the field? Yes. So they're gonna have to go out there and execute. They're gonna have to go there and play in uncomfortable conditions with a raucous yet corny Green Bay crowd, right? And I don't know that the 49ers have the capabilities to go in there and do what they did in Dallas. It's not going to be a home game or a borderline home game like you saw in Dallas. And that's no offense. That's Jerry's World for you.
Listen,
Lambeau
Jerry
is gonna
World
be
is a
packed.
spectacle. The Lambeau Field is a town that shuts down. You can't even go get groceries on a Sunday because they've shut down because the Packers are in town. Trust me, I wish I had that. I really do. As a Cowboys fan, you wish you had that. We have a good fan base, which, by the way, did you please tell me you saw the meme of the guy and the girl crying in his shoulder?
Yeah.
You know the new story?
No.
Okay. There's a girl that posted that photo and said, I know, guys, stop tagging me in this. I know that's my now ex-boyfriend. Somebody got caught with a chick because of that, because she decided to cry like a little bitch. She got caught on camera as one of now the newest memes in Cowboys history, because that's all we are. The Cowboys are a fucking walking meme, and I don't like to say effing at all, but that's what it is. We're a walking meme. Every time there's something else. But now, yeah, so she's like, stop tagging me in this stuff. I know he's done. He said this was a boys' trip. I was like, brother, go get tickets in the last row and sit on your. I'm not condoning this shit by any stretch, but Jesus Christ. But anyway, sorry, you got off on a tangent there. But as far as the 49ers are concerned, I think personally they're playing with a little bit of a nobody expects us to win this game mentality. I like that mentality when you're a football team. So any of the away teams, like we're going to get into another one after this, those away teams, nobody's really expecting for that team to go in there and steal one. And I think that's not the case in the AFC. I think the home team and the away team, like the Buffalo Bills and Chiefs game, I don't care who's home. That's going to be a great game. This one, I think the 49ers are coming in.
I don't buy
loose.
it. I don't buy it. Didn't Pittsburgh come in to Kansas City loose?
I mean, but Pittsburgh was a shell of a team, and you know that. The 49ers won 7 out of their last 9 going into the playoffs and then beat up on Dallas. So, like, that's a hot team going in. Everybody knew. Look, the Steelers were a tie away from not making the playoffs.
The 49ers won 7 of 9?
Yes, they went on a freaking tear.
I find that almost hard to believe. They started 2-0, so they won 7 of 9. I don't know if that's true, because they had a really bad
please
stretch.
bring up their schedule.
But either way, I don't care. 7 of those 9 weren't against Green Bay.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, like, they're going in with this mentality that nobody's supposed, like, you know, Garoppolo's got the whole injury thing, and then you got Trey Lance, like, could be in the mix. Maybe there was no packages for Trey Lance against the Cowboys, which I was very surprised about.
There's a winner go home mentality. It's not loose. There's a lot of pressure on all these guys. Jimmy G might be playing in his last game as a 49er for all he knows. There's pressure on everybody.
Yeah,
there's pressure on everybody. And this is a postseason, man. Like, you could sit here and say that they're playing with house money. Is that going to taste any better if you go into Lambeau and you're like, oh, we gave it a good shot? No, it doesn't work that way. When it comes down to game execution, we'll see how it goes down. I think that they could play as loose as they want. They better tighten up, because it's going to be a rough go of it.
I can only wonder and start like brainstorming right now of who Gooch might pick in this game tomorrow. But we'll find out tomorrow on the show. there is another game, by the way, in the NFC, and that is the Los Angeles Rams coming off their big win over the Arizona Cardinals, which, again, we all saw the Cardinals as a little bit of a fraudulent team, so the Rams took care of business. Now, the biggest thing, obviously, here, the Bucs took care of what they had to take care of against the Eagles. The Eagles looked like they didn't belong as much as the Arizona Cardinals looked like they didn't belong. So both of these teams coming off of very convincing wins. The Rams now go on the road, right? They're no longer I'm not going to compare them to the greatest show on turf with Warner and Bruce and Holt. I'm not saying that, but they do have the weapons in place to play better on home field advantage. Now they got to go to Tampa Bay. And whether it's raining or it's hot or it's humid or whatever it's going to be on Sunday, doesn't matter. My question is this. Matt Stafford finally gets the monkey off his back, right? Can Matt Stafford not only win his first playoff game, right? His first playoff game that he's ever won in his career, and then slay the beast the following week? Can this happen? Or is there a recipe for it to happen?
Yeah, there's a recipe. It just doesn't have much. I mean, obviously it has something to do with Matthew Stafford, but I think it has a lot more to do with Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey and company. I think that's what's going to be the key for the Rams, is going to be getting after Tom Brady and forcing because look, Tom Brady has the propensity to turn it over. He definitely does. And I know that Tom Brady's the GOAT or whatever you want to call Tom Brady. He's obviously the playoff man. He's had success year after year, but for all the success that Tom Brady has had in the postseason, he's also had a lot of losses in the postseason. He's not won the Super Bowl every year. So there's, what did he play? 81 years. He's won 7. So he's lost at least 70 times in the postseason, right?
He's probably got a solid little playoff record, but, it is what it is.
Yeah, but Matthew Stafford, he finally gets his first playoff win, and then he's rewarded with a trip to Tampa Bay. And you got to go and slay the beast in Tom Brady. I do think that there is a legitimate chance for the Rams to win this game. But like I said, I think it's going to be all about their defense. And it's business as usual for Tom Brady, as you see in the graphic. I know Hawaii Mike's been in the comments because he must have saw the same graphic as me the other day.
As far as what?
Where Tom Brady is older than all three other NFC coaches combined. I'm pretty sure he's older than
not combined.
Not combined. No. But there's another
he's
stat.
He's 97.
There's another stat where Tom Brady has more career playoff passing yards than all 7 of the other quarterbacks in the postseason. Well, and one of them is Aaron Rodgers. So
Cousin Vinny actually sent me something right before we went live. I have to read it. There's a graphic from CBS Sports saying every year Tom Brady has ever played Matt Stafford, Brady has won the Super Bowl. 2014, Brady won the Super Bowl.
These things mean nothing.
I know. I just find it funny. 2014, 18, and 20, they've all played the Lions, and they've won the Super Bowl that year. So now, once again, Brady has a chance to beat up on Matt Stafford, little Matt Stafford, and get it done. And obviously that sets up another conversation for next week. If all goes to chalk and we're talking Packers and Rodgers against Brady again, my God, is this place going to be literally on fire?
And Rob, we are not talking about Tom Brady's age as a knock on him. We're actually just blown away by the fact that he's actually older than the coaches, and he's still in the position that he's in, and he's probably going to be second in MVP voting.
Toast coming in with the always the stats of the day here. Check this Stafford stat: 4-33 as the dog against teams with a winning record, 500 winning, 500 plus teams
in November or later.
Jesus Christ! I mean, so obviously that stuff just works against Stafford, and we understand that. But that game, I feel like it definitely doesn't have the appeal that the Packers 49ers game does. But it is Tom Brady after all, and it is McVay to see if this guy can out coach Bruce Arians.
Dare I say that I'm pulling for the Bucs? I really want to play Tampa Bay. I can't help it.
Now, do you want to play Tampa Bay because you think they could beat Tampa Bay, or do you want to play Tampa Bay because there's another Brady thing?
I think the Packers are going to the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter who we play. I want to beat Tampa Bay.
That would complete the revenge story.
Yes.
And then you'd play whoever.
Don't care.
Buffalo,
if I had my pick, because then I'd win some money.
I was going to say you win some money. I was like, you really want to take on Josh Allen?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. Come on. Fucking rip him to shreds.
Oh, my God.
Get out of here, Josh.
I
He's
wish
invincible right now.
One day. I don't know when it'll be.
And that is a good point. I don't want to cut you off, but look, Rob Bohannon said he had all that's great to toast his point, but he was on the Lions. So what are those numbers now?
Very good point. But I one day I do want to feel what Gooch feels. I do. I want to be that guy where I can be like, I can't wait. I can't wait till the Cowboys play because we're gonna beat the shit out of that team. Like, I don't think, unfortunately, I don't think that's ever going to happen in my lifetime. And it's sad.
It doesn't come with like no pain. Trust me. I will feel this like this is why I am quietly confident typically. And this leads to my point I was talking about how all fan bases should be. I have a theory on how every single fan base should approach their fanhood. And as a Packer fan, I have mine down to a science where it's like you deflect all the bullshit because all the Aaron Rodgers talk, it doesn't matter. You're just quietly confident waiting for basically one game, and that's the NFC Championship. Because I know I'm going to be there. It's just like that's the one game that I have to worry about.
That's so cool, man. What's that like?
It's actually painful in some ways.
I mean, it is painful considering how many times you've lost in that game.
And it's futile in some ways as well, because I have to hear people like Kyle talk about and Jason Devlin talk about the frauds of this. And I'm just like, guys, stop. Like, we're going to find out in the NFC Championship game. But before that, we all know we're going to be there.
What is this place going to be like if the 49ers pick off the Packers this week?
It's not going to happen.
What if?
And based on and I can promise you this, if it does happen, it's not have anything to do with what I'm saying right now. Nothing to do with it. It's going to be because they played better than we did. That's it.
Oh, is that how you?
Is that possible?
For years, I thought, how does one team beat another? That's right. They play better than the other team. Yes, I agree. It could. Listen, the 49ers. I wasn't confident going into that
people
game.
Talk shit like just like Chris wanted to see the Red Sox. Yes, I did. I enjoy those moments. I enjoy those matchups. I relish the opportunity to beat the people that beat me in the past. That's what sports are all about. I'll take the easy road. Like I'll take Bosa and Warner not playing. Don't get me wrong. But the fact that they are, oh well, it doesn't really matter. Like we can't play that way. We've dealt with injuries all year and we're still here. So
he just hit us with the Tom Brady. We're still here. We're still here.
Yeah. Come on, don't compare me to Tom Brady. I'm way better than that guy.
He's the GOAT, remember?
I'm way better than Tom Brady.
You know what's funny? I was thinking about this and I didn't know if I wanted to bring it up because I was like, it'll just go off the tangent. No, you'll agree with me when I say this. You'll actually be team Sturch on this one, okay? You know how everybody talks about LeBron versus Jordan? Like, who's the real GOAT? That's the conversation I have internally with Rodgers and Brady. Pound for pound, in my opinion, this is gonna shock the world. Pound for pound, I think LeBron James might be the better basketball player, right? When it comes to skills, size, everything that he does, right? But Jordan won all those championships, the greatest player on earth when it was happening, had a great supporting cast, won all the titles. That's where I think Rodgers and Brady are at. I think that Rodgers, pound for pound, makes it look easy at his age right now, and he's still the greatest to ever do it on the football field. But they give it to Brady because of all the accolades.
And look, Tom Brady's had more success than Aaron Rodgers has had. And if Aaron Rodgers got the pick, like career accolades, I'm sure he would trade his career in a heartbeat.
Of course.
But that said, look, there's some work to be done, and we could still go and exercise some of those demons. Aaron Rodgers could finish with multiple Super Bowl rings. He could finish with 3. And then I think that you could really make the case that Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady are neck and neck in terms of the GOAT comparison. Now, look, if Aaron Rodgers was liked by anybody besides me, then we would be maybe singing a different tune.
That's another
Same
problem.
thing with LeBron. But look, Michael Jordan wasn't a likable guy. And guess what? I hate Tom Brady. I don't think he's all that likable. At the same time, I love to hate him. So I do enjoy Tom Brady. Like, I need him in my life as much as I hate him. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
But to your point about comparing like the two, I think it's just a different parallel when we're comparing basketball, 5 guys on the court, 13-man rosters. The NFL is a very, very big different thing. When we're talking about head coaches have a way bigger impact on the success of a team than I think they do in the NBA. Maybe people will argue that, but I won't.
You'll argue it because you had McCarthy.
Well, no, I'm just saying that when you really have the stars, you could have taken Phil Jackson off the Bulls and put any head coach on that team, and they were going to win.
Well, that's how I felt about Spoelstra when they had the big 3 down there with Wade and
I think that
and LeBron.
But if we're looking at
easy job,
that doesn't mean that the coach in that position isn't a good coach. It's just that he might have it a little easier. But Spoelstra, what he's been able to do with the roster that he's had since LeBron has left, they're a perennial playoff team in the. Granted, it's the East, but they went to the finals the other year. Like, Spoelstra's a really good coach. Moving off of basketball, back to football, and I guess the comparison that you're making is, I agree. Right now, it's Jordan, and LeBron might have the better skill set, but it doesn't matter. His will to win. What you look in your locker room, and you're like, well, and I've said this before, and this is hard for me to admit. When you have Tom Brady in your when you have Aaron Rodgers, we'll start with the Aaron Rodgers one. You're like, wow. You look around, you're like, no matter what the situation is, we could win. We could win this game.
Yeah, of course.
When you have Tom Brady in the locker room, everybody looks around and they're like, we're gonna win this game. There's a difference, and that's the difference that
could
I
and
think
a
that
gonna.
Tom Brady brings to a team that maybe Aaron Rodgers doesn't. And like I said, it's hard for me to admit that. And not to get off this topic,
having
but
a
did
moment
you see Kyler Murray and Russ? Did you see the timing of that on the Manning cast the other day, where they were down 20 points? There was 8 minutes to go. I think he just threw another pick. It's like 7th one. and Russell Wilson was like, now see, if I'm Kyler Murray in this situation, I'd be up and down the sideline saying, guys, it's still possible. Guys, it's still possible. And they panned to Kyler Murray in that situation, and he was sitting on the bench. Like so it was like, Russ definitely didn't mean to throw him under the bus.
Which is why, and listen, I know that Dak is going to fall down the ranks of overall quarterback in this league, but when you look at the sidelines, Dak Prescott's in your ear. Dak Prescott's saying, we got this. Dak Prescott, literally, it went to halftime, and he wouldn't even leave the bench because he was looking at the tablet, and he just wouldn't leave.
Now, don't take this the wrong way.
Of course. Just because I gave him that little bit.
There also is a shred of, based on the way Kyler Murray played that game, and I'm not even going to say anything about Dak. I'm gonna use the Dak, what you just said, to bring up a different point, and I'll leave Dak out of it for the listener's sake. Now I lost my point. No. Like, if you have a guy like Kyler Murray running up and down the sideline saying it's still possible, you might have, as he passes you might have like AJ Green look over and be like, the fuck is he talking about?
Or
you see the way he's been playing, it ain't possible.
The best part is, like, oh, come on, guys, it's still possible. Who the fuck was that? And he's down. You have to look down. Oh, son of a bitch. Hi, Kyle. I didn't see you sitting there. Oh, man. Oh, that's a short joke. That's okay. Well, shout out to all you short people out there. We love you. Good things come in small packages.
Amen.
Pause. In any event, those are the two previews. Tomorrow, obviously, we will make our picks. We're also going to dive into UFC 270 tomorrow because we're excited about that. We got a heavyweight title fight, which I'm clearly always have rooted for the heavyweights. I got a Brock Lesnar poster in the other room.
A rematch of probably the best fight of 2021 with Davis and Figueiredo and me Funko Pops. That's all. I'll leave it at that. If you guys know, you know.
If you know, you know.
I just need more room
UFC
for me
talk.
Funko Pops.
And obviously, if anything breaks tonight,
and me Legos.
Coaching searches, player acquisition, whatever. Chop Sports is all over it, and we appreciate you guys watching each and every day. Do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel. That's the biggest thing we could possibly ask you to do. I'm not even asking you to watch every single day and make it a point to sit there at 11 o'clock and say, I have to watch this shit. No, you have to just subscribe. And if you're around, we would love to have you.
You don't have to watch it live, but if you don't watch it at all, I'm coming for you.
There you go. And then Gooch will find you and kill you. But in any event, we do appreciate you guys, the new Patreons, the new subscribers, the new members to Chop Sports. Our boy came through yesterday, big time invite, which I didn't know I can do this, and I didn't search them out. But like I hit on like members on Chop Sports, and it said like it tagged them all, and it said like welcome our new members, and I was like, I can post this. I was like, sure, done. So I posted it, and I welcome every single new member of Chop Sports, the Facebook group. Listen, that's where it all started, folks. We were a forum at one point. Now we're here. Actually, before I forget, on this day. I always feel like you guys won't get it. I feel like I'm about to start singing Edge's theme song. Nobody understands what I'm talking about, except for the wrestling fans out there. But on this day in 2021, I stepped through that door and I looked at that office for the first time and I said,
this would be perfect for Joe Pizzamenti's business. That's what you said, isn't it?
This would be perfect for Attitude of Gratitude Consulting. No, we moved in here on February 8th of last year, but like the first time I stepped foot into this whole place was this day last year. Took a bunch of pictures, blank walls, like little tiny office. I'm like, oh, yeah, we could definitely do our podcast in here. And then bang, here we are. So like I said, my uncle was just here, dropped off a bunch of samples. We're going to build a sports desk. It's going to be great. I can't wait. So shout out to everybody who's been riding with us since day one. Thank you, AJ. See? Fuck, oh, God, you have one guy out there. I see it clearly. And it's Alter Bridge.
We have Sam Grasso like making up with Kyle in the comments.
Shout out to my man, Kyle, AJ and Toast. They had a pick'em show last night. Yes, you could check that out over at the Sauce Network. They did go live. I am still going to wheel and deal and get them to come over to our network somehow, some way. If it doesn't happen, fuck you guys then, okay? No, I'm kidding. Great show last night.
You know what I do want, though? I want to go on that live stream.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about gambling, but I love to sit there and talk shit and say you're wrong and say Beaver. That's a terrible thing.
Ashley came in with a virtual hug, and I thought it was the bot. That's because like the way right. She's got the colons. Is it the colons or the semicolons?
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. As we end this show, Kyle Kerms, the sauce himself, I'm coming in tomorrow to drop another guarantee that everybody should probably fade because my cold streak has
Hey, I
grown
gotta
to 6
say
days.
something about myself. I've had double-digit wins, right, on both shows going into week 17 and 18 with Kyle on the show. And then last week I would have gone 5-1 if I didn't switch my pick because Kyle had the guarantee. And I'm not giving myself an excuse, but I definitely picked the Bucks across the board in everything that I did except for our show. And I really pussied out on the Cowboys one. I really should have just went San Fran, but
Should have.
5-1.
I'm sorry.
I went 5-1 last week.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
I think you went 4-2, and I went 3-3.
I know.
Oh,
Where
because you
is
took
it?
the
Because
cow.
of
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Got
I
it.
literally switched.
All right.
it
Well,
for the
listen.
show.
Whether you fade them or
Which
you
is-
ride with them, go check out the Sauce Network. Their link is actually right on our YouTube channel. So if you want to check out his picks, he drops a video every day. He's now doing live streams. Monkey see, monkey do. But whatever the case may be, just kidding, Kyle. Love you to death. But I can't wait to see Kyle here tomorrow on a Lean Friday. So for Sturch and Gooch, and of course, Dina, the Pick Bish Simpson in the house, this has been another episode of the Chopped Sports Daily. We will see you guys tomorrow. Time to lean. Let's go.
Hey, Toast, I'll be glad to join you on your baseball show, buddy.
Toast, we need you for baseball, by the way.